Hi there, today we're going to be working on this old fuel cap. It's off a TVR car and it's in a bit of a state because it's made from that horrible material, pot metal or mazac, zinc alloy, zamac, whatever name it goes by, it's always rubbish. So let's have a look at it. So these are made of a really poor quality material, which is basically a zinc alloy. It's the cheapest metal you can cast something with and still be able to polish it and place it. Unfortunately, it breaks down over time into these deep pits. We don't know if we're going to be able to get all of these out, but we're going to give it a go and see what happens. The locking clasp here looks to be made out of brass. From the weight of it and the fact that it's extruded and there's no pitting in it, I'm pretty sure this is going to turn out to be brass. So you'll be able to see the difference between an item made from a good quality material and one from a very poor quality material. So let's get this in the workshop and see if we can make a nice job of it. The first thing that we're going to have to do is strip the old plating off. So here we're going to wire it up on some copper wires. Now this is going into the stripper tank, which is mainly sulfuric acid and some other parts. And what we do here is we pass the current through the opposite way to plating. And here it is, it's stripped the nickel and chrome off. That's just a very thin layer of copper, which is always put on first when you're plating pot metal or zinc alloy mazac parts. Now we're in the polishing shop. This is where most of the labour actually gets carried out, where most of the actual work is. Because these parts are made from a zinc alloy, you're not going to see any sparks, but you can see those rooster tails of metal dust flying off the wheel. This first polishing operation is what we call cutting out, and the idea is to remove all of the marks, the corrosion marks, the pitting, all of that needs to be removed in this first stage. Because this metal is far softer than steel, it's very easy to mess this up, so it requires a very delicate touch. Now we're moving on to a different tool. This is what's called a sateen mop. It's actually a cotton mop that's been dressed up with some abrasives. This is softer than the abrasive belt and a bit more forgiving, and it makes it easier to get into recesses, etc. This next tool is what's called a single section mop, and it's more flexible. You can see that we can work this into those areas that you couldn't get to with the other tools. Now we're back onto a finer abrasive belt to get the main areas. We have to work through a series of finer belts. What we're actually doing is removing the marks that we put on from the previous operation. This is the easiest part to polish out of the three because this one's made of brass. So here we're using the fine belt to cut it out because there is no appreciable corrosion on this part. Now we're going to show you a part that we polished the same day. This is pot metal and we could not get these pit marks out. If we'd have attempted it, we would have polished through it. But these are pretty sound and we should be able to get a fabulous result with them. Now we're into the plating shop for the first visit. We've got to wire this up onto copper wires so that we can pass an electric current through it. This is a hot soapy cleaner tank where we're going to give it a scrub and make sure that it's free from grease, dirt and oil. Once we know it's clean, we can move on to the electric cleaner. Now, what this is going to do is we pass a current through the part, and this activates the surface of the metal to remove any oxides. If you don't activate the surface of the metal, then it's likely that the plating is just going to peel off as it won't bond properly. This is a special dilute acid. Now this is a cyanide based copper tank. This is because this isn't an acidic solution, because these zinc alloy parts will dissolve in an acid solution. Once it's been in the cyanide copper for a little while, then it should be a lovely salmon pink colour. Now we just need to rinse this off, and this will protect it while it goes into the high build acid copper. Just finding a bit of space for it, and there it is into the acid copper tank. It's going to be in here for a couple of hours to get a nice deposit. Now that it's finished cooking away, it's ready to come out and be rinsed. Now we're back into the polishing shop for the last time. We're just going to refine that surface a little. This is an 800 DA pad. Now this is what's called an airflow mop. They work quickly, but they're for professionals only because they are liable to snatch parts. When it comes to the polishing compounds, like that yellow bar you just saw there, the rule is apply little and often. can see how the shine is really starting to build on this part now. More polishing compound, and then this is just polishing up that little brass clasp that's part of this fuel cap. Now we're back in the plating shop for the second and final time. We just need to wire all these three parts up on copper wires. This weight we're attaching here is just to stop it dancing around in the tank as it's plating. Into the hot soak cleaner. It gets cleaned electrically again to make the surface of the metal active. Once it's been rinsed through this counterflow rinse system, it goes into this dilute sulfuric acid just here. One final rinse, and then it's into the nickel plating tank. We'll set the power and leave it to cook away in here for about an hour. Now you can see it almost looks finished when it comes out. All the good looks and weather protection are from this nickel layer. The final stage is applying the chrome plating. Now that's done, we can give this a rinse off. Now we're neutralising the chromic acid. And a final rinse in clean water. Now that the water's dried off these, we can take them off the wires and inspect them. We give them a wipe over with a metal polish to remove any watermarks so that we can see to inspect them properly. And there's the finished article. Let's just remind you what they used to look like and what they look like now.